Hello there, my name is Buntu Betse and I'll be talking about all things recruitment, Actors Edition. Alright, so I'm fairly new to the industry, but I hope that what I have to share can be useful to someone who's starting out. One thing I definitely have to say is you have to have an agent. It is very imperative because agents are the ones who get briefs from clients. They're the ones who get the work and then become middlemen in getting us to come through and provide that service for the client. So if you don't have access to that, jobs will be quite scarce. So the brief know-how on getting an agent is simply looking up acting agencies in South Africa, calling or sending an email to arrange an interview. Some might require you to audition, and that is what you'll do. And then hopefully you get picked as part of their artists. So you will get a brief from your agent. A brief is essentially a piece of information from the client, whether it be a brand or a company or an organization, and they will essentially put in detail what they would like. So they'll be like, must be a funky or sporty kind of girl, or must be a well-built man. And they really get down to those detailed preferences. So now that we've looked at the brief and we see that we actually tick a lot of the boxes that are required from this brief, then we move forward into the actual auditioning process. So there are two types of auditioning processes. So a self-tape is you can use your phone or a camera, but it's essentially you performing the audition for camera to be sent to client. There's a whole document that we get sent with a self-tape audition brief, and then you are able to then refresh your mind and remind yourself the do's and don'ts when coming to doing a self-tape. Then the other option will be auditioning in person. So this is where you go to a casting company where a lot of people who are like you auditioning for the same role will come together. You'll each get a number, and then as you wait for your turn, you will then go up and do the performance required from the audition. So it's quite important to be very honest, I think, as with any CV, when you are replying to an audition brief. So if they ask for a specific age, make sure that you're within that age range. So another example could be language. If you are not speaking the language that they require and you're not honest about it, it might get very awkward if you were to get the role. So always best to be honest. And then as you enter the auditioning space, it's very important to keep calm and confident. It can be quite intimidating because essentially you're going to be performing for people who are judging you to see if you are the right fit for this role, for this job. But it's very important to not let your nerves get in the way of your performance as much as possible, because it's understandable for you to be nervous. And then you are required to introduce yourself. This is where you'll state your name, your age, your agency, height if necessary, as well as turning to one side. This is for them to see your profile, just to get a holistic view of you physically. And then you can start your audition. As with anything, with you trying to get something and you having to wait for results, it can get quite nerve-wracking. So what I like to do is physically force myself to forget about the audition. Once I've left that room, I am no longer thinking about it, what I could have done better, how I made a mistake here and there. It is totally out of my control now. I just have to trust that what I have performed is enough. And then there is a process known as callbacks after that. So callbacks are essentially another round of auditions where maybe they have selected a few people from the bigger initial group. So if you're one of the lucky ones who have been chosen to audition, you essentially will probably have to do the same thing or a different piece of text from the story, if it's a series or a movie, for example. And there you just keep it exactly the same, unless they ask you to make any changes, but you're there for a reason. You're there because the choices that you made in your first audition were actually good. So then once again, you do what you have to do, your introduction, as well as your audition, and then you leave. And then you try to forget about it until one day, if you're lucky, then you get the call from your agent telling you that you have made it for that specific role. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the cookie crumbles.